What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for October 8th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery, and we have a big show today. Huge, as a matter of fact. So let's get right to it, and let's start with the big story, that Phillies game. A lot to unpack here. First and foremost, 3-0 win, and I've been saying it for back in the wild card. Like, this team, that was like a very business-like game. They came in, everybody did their job. They were stealing bases. They knew it was going to be tough going against him, so they took advantage of Strider when they had the chance. Could have been a lot more than 3-0, but we'll take it. We stole the one game, and now I'm looking like let's get greedy and take game 2 with Wheeler on the mound. The one thing that I will say that I don't necessarily agree with, and it's hard to second guess now that it has everything worked out the way it was. I don't know if I'd have taken Ranger out there when Rob Thompson did. I know it ultimately did work out for the Phillies, and who knows what would have happened. And I didn't really get a chance to look this morning at any of the press conferences or anything because after the game I went right to football. But I don't know if it was strategic in the sense that now they still have Ranger for later in the series. But he was pitching well. And that's going to be huge if they can make it out of this series going into the NLCS and hopefully even the World Series. But I did question it. I don't know. But it worked out. I mean, it was a true bullpen game, and it worked out the way they wanted it to. They get the day off today. Everybody should be fresh, and now you got your ace on the mound tomorrow. It was the first shutout for the Braves at home in 2 years, and I think it was the first time they've been shut out all this season, or some crazy stat like that. So the fact that they were able to shut that offense down is huge. And the catcher's interference, and yes, like it was 3-0 or 2-0. So I mean, maybe they changed the vibe that Atlanta had those last couple innings, but I know you didn't see it, like we couldn't see it on the replay, and it did not look like he hit his glove. But when you have JT, who's a catcher, hitting, and then Atlanta's catcher, his name is slipping my head right now, but the fact that he didn't argue it. He did not protest it. So to me, that's saying like he agrees with it. He said he didn't feel it, but he thought his glove hit the bat. And it is what it is. It's kind of one of those things where there wasn't conclusive evidence to overturn it. And to be honest, like, and I'm hard on umpires both ways. I'd be a little bit more upset about it, but I would have the same sort of mindset on it. It's two catchers who JT said, yeah, my bat hit your glove, and the catcher did not argue it. So, I mean, it's not a call you see all the time. So I can see where some of the upsetness is coming from. But if it was a one-run game or that game like gave the Phillies the lead or tied the game, then I could see. But it was more of an insurance run at that point. But I get it. And I mean, could the Braves fans, the few of them that were there, be any more trashy? Literally just throwing trash on the field to protest? Like, come on. And again, and I will die. This is the hill I've always chosen to die on, that Philly fans get a bad rap. You don't see people at Citizens Bank Park doing that. And yes, we've thrown some things in the past, but that was years and years and years and years ago. So it just goes to show like the narrative is what it is, and it's, I don't know. But yeah, stay classy, Atlanta. All 10 of you who were in the stadium yesterday, which that's pathetic. You can't sell out a playoff game, and you're the best team in the National League, possibly even Major League Baseball. Yeah, stay classy. And finally, Spencer Strider. I think I remember talking about this last year, but I'll say it again because it came up on our text chain. He has such a punchable face. There's just some guys you just want to look at and punch them in the face. Spencer Strider is one of them. And he has every right, though, I will say, to be frustrated at his team for not giving him any run support. He did exactly what he needed to do, and his offense let him down. So maybe there is something to the thing because they played scrimmages with fans in attendance to kind of simulate, because they had so much time off. Maybe there is something to the whole the division winner being at a disadvantage because they're allowed to pick up rust. But I don't know. Sucks for them. The defense was just phenomenal, and I think Bryce Harper just does not get enough credit for just being. Sometimes his numbers are not where they need to be, but I think the little things and just what he does, hustling around the bases, the fact that he worked his ass off to get decent at first base and now isn't necessarily a liability. He made a couple nice grabs, nice scoops. I mean, that double play that Trey and Stott turned was just incredible, and it came at a huge moment. But I really feel that Bryce just does not get his due. And with all that being said, I'm going to go a little out of order today and continue with our Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame focus. And we've been going over this year's induction class as well as the 20 for 20 they're doing for the 20th induction class. And then there was 5 that I chose that I think eventually will be. And to me, this one's a no-brainer. We did Kelsey already, who's also a no-brainer. But Bryce Harper 100% at this point, if he retired tomorrow, would be within the 3-year waiting period in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. And I think he, much like Jason Kelsey, gets it. Bryce came in, did all the right things, and really just embraced coming to the city. He basically wanted to come in and make it his home for his kids, and just, I mean, down to wearing like the Fanatic oven mitt now, which is awesome. He started with the Fanatic shoes, the Fanatic bat, like all of those things that he just does to embrace. He had Eagle socks on last week. Like, those are the little things that he does that you have to appreciate, that he gets the little details. And big picture, it's not end all be all. Like, he doesn't have to do that, and I'm still sure he would be beloved. However, you do little things like that, and like, people want to rally behind you. Like, he just does everything the right way. And I mean, and then you put his play on the field, and I mean, he's clutch. He's given 150% out there, when most guys, you give 100, 110. He's like, no, I'm giving 150. And to me, there's no doubt in my mind, whether they win a World Series with him or not, no doubt in my mind, he's going to be a Philadelphia Sports Hall of Famer at some point in his life. But, I mean, the man, like I said, he just gets it, and that says a lot to be able to endear yourself to, quite frankly, a tough city, whether it's the media or the fans, and to be able to just endear yourself to them. And the one thing I do like about him that doesn't get talked enough about is he tells it like it is. Like, if he says, if he sucked, he's like, I suck. And a lot of guys won't do that, though. He's like, no, I need to be better. It's on me. And you got to like guys like that. So Bryce Harper, one day, in my opinion, obviously will be in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. If you want more information about who's in now, how you can help them out, whether you can volunteer, you have artistic skills, whatever, you have research or ideas for them, go to phillyhall.org. And then if you want more information regarding this year's induction class or the 20 for 20, it's philadelphiasportshalloffame.org. But definitely be sure to check them out. They're such a good organization, and I'm excited to be working with them as we lead up. Speaking of goats, you know where I'm going with this one. PhillyGoat.com, the GOAT of Philly sports apparel. Go check them out. Celebrate the Phils win. Get ready for today's Eagles game. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. Sixers kicking off their preseason tonight. Flyers kick off their season. Union ready for their playoff push. They have hoodies. They have kid size. You still want to get one of those. I'm debating it today. The Philly fan to the bone shirt with the Fanatic. They have kid sizes too. So go check them out. PhillyGoat.com. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Eagles don't play till 4 today, so make sure to check out. If you haven't done so already, we're refocusing and replaying our interview with Ken Avalon of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. So that's Back to the Future with a PH. Look for the Ken Avalon interview. All right, speaking of those Union, it was a 0-0 draw last night. They're in third place with one game left, so it looks like realistically they're going to fall somewhere between the third and the fifth seed for the MLS playoffs, which is good. They're outside of that wild card round, so they'll be able to get a bye into the next round. I mentioned the Sixers kicking off preseason tonight against the Celtics. I don't know if it's on TV. If it is, I wouldn't mind tuning in just to get a glimpse. I have so many questions. I don't know who's playing, if any of the big guys are going to be playing, but I kind of want to get a sense on what how Nick Nurse is going to play. I want to kind of look at his rotation, the play calling, like where his focus is going to be. But again, lots of questions going into that preseason game tonight. All right. We are going to, I'll save the Eagles for last, but today we're going to go back to 1915 and sticking with a Phillies postseason postseason theme. I'll get it out. On this day back in 1915, it was game one of the 1915 World Series. The Phillies won that game 3-1 over the Boston Red Sox. Hall of Famer and Philadelphia Sports Hall of Famer Grover Cleveland Alexander pitched a complete game, 8-hitter, allowed the 1 earned run, and had 6 Ks. It was played at the Baker Bowl in Philadelphia. The Phillies would then go on to lose 4 straight 1-run games in that 1915 World Series, which some facts and some things I didn't know, which I found interesting about that World Series. It was the last World Series to start on a Friday until last year. Ironically enough, with the Phillies playing in that one as well. The Phillies obviously did not win another World Series game until Game 1 of the 1980 World Series. They didn't, in fact, win a postseason game until Game 1 of this 1977 NLCS. Babe Ruth made an appearance as a young pitcher for the Red Sox, but he did not pitch because the Red Sox were just stacked. He only had the 1 pinch hit appearance in that game. We all would know what he would go on to do. Woodrow Wilson, President Wilson, was the first president to attend a World Series game when he attended Game 1 or I think it was Game 2 in Philadelphia. It was the second straight, too, Boston-Philadelphia World Series. The year before, the Boston Braves beat the Philadelphia A's. So that's kind of an interesting little take there. You would have thought that this series was played at the Baker Bowl and at Fenway Park, but in fact, the Red Sox played, even though Fenway was still brand new and ready to go, it was played at the Braves' new field instead because it had a larger capacity. So even back then, they were trying to get more fans in, try to make more money, and things like that. Even the Baker Bowl, they added some grandstand seats to try to fit more people in for the World Series. But on this day, back in 1915, the Phillies won their first ever World Series game, beating the Boston Red Sox 3-1. Unfortunately, they would go on to lose that series 4-1, losing each of the next 4 games by 1 run. All right, it is Eagles Day, and of all the games so far this year, this is the one I don't know what to make of it. And I think before we get into that, no, well, I'll stick there. It's a 4-point spread. The over is 50.5. The Eagles should be able to put up points on the Rams. I don't think that's going to be a question. I think their line can sort of contain Aaron Donald. They have throughout his whole entire career with Jalen Hurts' scrambling ability. I don't see that as a problem. My concern is the Rams' offense, and I could see our defense really just coming in, putting a lot of pressure on Stafford and not giving him time. But with Cooper Kupp back and the injuries we have in the secondary, it's sort of, I don't know what capacity he's going to be able to come back, like what kind of game shape. I'm sure he's the type of guy that he's coming back and he's going to go all out. But I think this game falls on our defensive line. I think they need to get pressure on Stafford and make him uncomfortable. I'm not really worried about the Rams' running game, so it should be a game where the Eagles' defensive line should be able to dominate the way they have been. Not too far off from what they did last week against Washington. The difference is Stafford is not nearly as mobile as Sam Howell. So I think that is going to be the key to this game. Injuries, Cindy Brown is not playing, which I think that's kind of where some of my concern is. That means Bradley Roby has been elevated to the team and probably is going to get some playing time today in the nickel, which I think is good because that's going to help move James Bradbury back to the outside. And hopefully that'll help contain some of the Cooper Kupp things. But they have some other good receivers too. Cam Jurgens went on the IR, so he's going to be out for a few weeks. I keep going back and forth on this because I can see this game being an absolute blowout. Like the Eagles just clicking on all cylinders, but I can also see the Rams kind of hanging in there and keeping it close. I will say I fully expect there to be a large contingent of Eagles fans out there. Just on my Twitter line, I know there's a lot of folks out there. It was one of the destination trips this year, so maybe not quite what it was in Tampa, but it might be pretty close to like a 60-40, 50-50 split. So it should be loud for the Eagles, which I think will help. They seem to get inspired and fired up when things like that happen. I look for this too. Obviously, the defensive line is the key on defense. Offensively, I think you need to get Dallas Goedert in there. And I feel like every time they've talked about why this one isn't doing it. Look what happened with A.J. Brown. And they've been talking more about Goddard. I think you're going to see more. I think they're going to focus on Goddard a little bit more today. And I know with Donald, they might have to get creative with the blocking and things like that. But hopefully, I don't know if he's going to get a ton of yards because he's not very big on yards after the catch. But I look for him to have a few catches, especially in the red zone, which has been an issue this year for the Eagles. And I think they need to get him going, and maybe it takes a little bit away from AJ, but Devontae just goes out there every day and just does what he has to do. So I'm not concerned about that. I could very easily see this game flying over. I could very easily see this game flying under. I'm staying away from the total. If it was under 50, I might say let's go over. I could totally see this being a 28-21 game and just barely not getting there. Could also see the Eagles putting up 30 points again. But what I am going to do, against my better judgment, maybe I'm going to put the reverse jinx in there. I do think the Eagles win. I think this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough test. I think they're going to be ready for it, but would I be shocked if it's a blowout? No, I just cannot see this game being a blowout. I think the Rams are going to keep it close. Cooper Kupp coming back is huge. This was one of those games that we thought was going to be a cakewalk when the schedule first came out. Now it is your typical it's a trap game, and it's there. Hopefully they come out motivated, cross country flight. If it was 4 is just, it scares me. So I'm actually going to say the Eagles win, but do not cover. Rams cover the 4-point spread. Obviously, take that with what you will. We're 4-2 on our bets, but Eagles win. I think it's going to be another field goal game, just like last week, where we're just going to be sweating it out all evening. So Eagles still pull it out though, move to 5-0, but they do not cover the spread. Be sure to let me know what you think about that too. Maybe I'm just too nervous about a 4-0 team, and I should just say no, they're going to blow them out. But let me know what you think. On this day back in 1915, Phillies won Game 1 of the 1915 World Series, and then they didn't win another World Series game until 1980. Bryce Harper, future Philadelphia Sports Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Let me know what you think about that. Be sure to go to check out Philly Goat. Get all your gear. Get ready for Halloween, playoffs, whatever. Go Philly Goat. Do some early Christmas shopping if you want to. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Phil's getting a much-needed day off. We got Wheeler on the mound tomorrow. They are looking in good shape. Anxious to see if there's any kind of James Harden drama tonight. But go enjoy this beautiful fall day. Do something fun in the early morning, early afternoon. Then get ready to settle in for some Eagles football. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. And until next time, go Birds.